So let's talk about LGBT astrology. As you all know, or if you don't know, I'm gay, so I'm the G in the LGBT. And I've talked about gay astrology, LGBT astrology on my YouTube channel plenty of times, lesbian astrology, transgender astrology. I don't think I've actually talked about that yet on my YouTube channel, but I have definitely talked about lesbian astrology, gay astrology, bisexual astrology, and all in between, including asexual astrology, and how certain placements in your natal chart or birth chart can show gayness, lesbianness, all right, bisexualness. Let's talk about it. So when we talk about LGBT astrology, we have to remember that we are talking about mainly same-sex relationships. Now, uh, in certain communities of the LGBT community, that kind of blurs, or the lines blur there in terms of same sex. For example, bisexual people don't just date same sex people, they also date the opposite sex. That's the thing with bisexual people, is that they're attracted to both sexes, male and female. All right. When we speak of transgender, all right, people assume that transgender men and women are automatically attracted to uh the same sex, but that's completely opposite. Sometimes, transgender people are attracted to the opposite sex. Uh, in certain instances, the same sex that they're transitioning to, but in this video, we are going to focus mainly on the L and the G, but we're also going to focus a bit on the B and the T. So let's talk about the L and the G. When we speak of the L and the G, we often think of there must be something where, if she's a lesbian, she must be feminine. Or, I'm sorry, if she's a lesbian, she must be masculine. Like she's a tomboy, which creates the stereotype that all tomboys are lesbians. Or if he's feminine in any way, he must be gay, which creates the stereotype that feminine boys are gay, which isn't always true. There are certain placements in the birth chart that can predispose someone to being gay, such as, for example, if one is a man. There are feminine placements that can make you a bit more feminine and predispose maybe to being treated as feminine, being treated as a female, all right, whether by men who are more masculine than you or men who are attracted to you. These placements are Libra. You can have maybe a Libra sun, for example, makes you very feminine. And makes you attractive, therefore, not only to the opposite sex, but the same sex as well. Very often men are attracted to, especially straight men, all right, as well, are attracted to femininity. Masculine men tend to be attracted to femininity, even if masculine men say they're not attracted to it. Because, see, it's one thing to be masculine, but with the Libra sun, you may have feminine features. Whether you have a feminine look, you have long hair, or you have a feminine voice, a walk to you. There's something maybe about you that is feminine. When we speak of the sun as well, Cancer men also can be very feminine. Cancer sun men. Cancer is ruled by the moon. The moon rules femininity. It rules the mother, birth, children, childhood. Not to mention, Cancer men can be very emotional, very in tune with their emotions. So Cancer men, for example, can like emotional attentiveness, whether this comes from the same sex or the opposite sex, no matter their sexuality or their sexual preference. It's just something that energetically, astrologically, you may be predisposed to. Leo, men and women, may also be the same way, where they like attention, and no matter necessarily where that attention comes from. All right. So when we talk about this, we can also talk about bisexuality as well. It's interesting, bisexuality, bisexual people not only enjoy men and women, but they also like the attention that comes from men and women as well, their way. So when we speak of sexual preference, let's talk about Mars, because Mars rules our sexuality and what we're sexually attracted to. Mars rules masculinity as well. So when we speak of lesbianism, for example, an Aries or Scorpio woman may be predisposed to having feminine or masculine energies within them, and therefore may find that you attract not only the opposite sex but also the same sex. Because naturally women are attracted to masculinity. And yes, even in women are attracted to masculinity. Absolutely. Then there are other planets, such as Saturn, which some people consider a feminine planet. It's debatable. It is feminine, but it also has its masculine traits as well. Here we have Aquarius and Capricorn. If you have Aquarius and Capricorn in your chart, you may have a sense of masculinity to you as a woman, and you may find that you attract men and women. Now, we could also get into the topic of androgyny, which is Gemini energy, also Aquarius energy, Sagittarius energy, Pisces energy, non-conforming. Non-conforming energy can definitely be bisexual energy. It can also be pansexual energy. P, all right, in the LGBTQIP spectrum, all right. Um, That can definitely be Sagittarius, Aquarius, Pisces, Gemini energies, as these zodiac signs don't necessarily like conforming to societal rules and regulations. These are the experimental zodiac signs, especially if you have this in your sun, but also in your Mars, because Mars is what you like sexually. So it's no wonder why we see a lot of down low men, for example, with that Mars energy. With their sun, you could have a man who presents himself as one thing, but maybe even with that Mercury, all right, and that Mars connected, it creates a different story behind the scenes, because we have to think about Mercury. Mercury rules communication, intellect, our mind. So even if you have a Mercury in Sagittarius or a Mercury in Pisces, a Mercury in Aries or Scorpio or Aquarius, you may be sexually intrigued by the same sex or same sex acts. Remember, the mind wanders. Oh boy, does the mind wander with that Mercury energy. And then when we go to Jupiter, by the way, did you know Jupiter rules the taboo? Which can also equate to taboo sex. Taboo sex, and although it's getting more or less antiquated and more accepted these days, same-sex sex can be considered taboo in a lot of communities and societies, homes and families. What's your Jupiter in? Because see, Jupiter in any fire sign is experimental, as fire acts on its instincts. Also, if you have Mars in a fire sign, fire sign will try almost anything once. But it's when we get to that Jupiter, it's when we try it more than once and figure out, do we really like it? See, Jupiter is traditionally ruled by Sagittarius. So Sagittarius is, for example, are naturally people who explore and like to try different things and taste the rainbow, both literally and figuratively. It's no wonder why Sagittarius, for example, are the least likely to commit. And that is included in LGBTQ relationships. For example, in a lesbian or gay relationship, you may find that you are dealing with a Sagittarius who is pansexual or bisexual, or you're dealing with a Sagittarius who doesn't want to commit, wants to be in an open relationship. Let's talk about open relationships really quickly in the LGBT community. It's a big thing not only in the LGBT community, it's also a big thing in the pansexual community and so many different communities. But the idea of the open relationship. Because see, there are certain signs that like commitment, all right? That want commitment, that may even want family, want to adopt or, have their own children. The signs that are most likely to want to commit are Cancer, Scorpio, Capricorn, Virgo, Taurus, Leo, and Libra. It's not to say that the other zodiac signs aren't willing to commit. It's just that the other zodiac signs need their freedom. Pisces, Gemini, Aquarius, Sagittarius. And with these zodiac signs, their sexualities can shift and change. Like I said, Sagittarius, Aquarius, Pisces, Gemini, these zodiac signs are more willing to explore and try different things and truly explore their sexuality. So if you have your Mars in any of these zodiac signs, or even your Mercury, with your Mars, you would at least be willing to try same sex once, all right? With your Mercury, you've at least thought about it once. And that's not a bad thing. That just means you're human. All right? Let's talk about the transgender community, male to female and female to male. Now, there are certain placements that can predispose you to feeling like the opposite sex, such as having, for example, a moon sign if you're female in a masculine sign, such as Aries, Scorpio, because Mars rules masculinity, it rules war, it rules aggression. And Scorpio and Aries are both ruled by Mars. Maybe even Pluto, which is ruled by Scorpio. Rules Scorpio, or maybe even Capricorn or Aquarius. As a male transitioning to a female, maybe your moon sign is in Libra, all right? Like mine. Now, I don't consider myself transgender in the sense that I want to be a female, but I do consider myself gender fluid. I like to call it transgender fluid. So you see how it even plays a role in my life. As the moon in Libra, I definitely blur the lines of feminine and masculine, leaning more towards the feminine in a lot of instances. All right. Even having a moon in Cancer as a man. All right. Moon in Pisces as well. These are all receptive zodiac signs, energies that like to receive attention, receive compliments, receive love. Feminine energy is definitely a receptive energy. All right. Even if you have a moon in Scorpio, actually. Because Pluto, that's that Pluto energy. Pluto rules evolution, rebirth, regeneration, death of your old self, and a birth of a new self. We could even go as deep and say North Node. Let's talk about the North Node. If you're a female and you have a North Node in a masculine sign, it may even be in your fate, in your destiny to transition. If you have that North Node in Mars or Pluto, Saturn even, or if you're a male transitioning to female and you have a feminine placement in your North Node, definitely could mean that in this lifetime you're meant to transition to a female. All right? That's that North Node in Venus, North Node in Neptune, North Node